A few days ago, an internet political debate caught my attention. A commenter was passionately explaining that Donald Trump had publicly compared himself to Julius Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, and Alexander the Great, and that this was definitive, terrifying proof of a rapid slide into full blown fascism. It sounded highly specific, shocking even, but as a student of pattern recognition, something felt off. We know Trump's public brand. When he makes historical comparisons, he typically points to Abraham Lincoln or George Washington. He doesn't exactly quote 19th century German philosophy on a Sunday morning. So I decided to do what the internet rarely does anymore. I tracked the breadcrumbs. The trail didn't lead to a public press conference or an official transcript. It led to a single analytical article in The Atlantic. Now, look at how the information degrades as it moves down the media food chain. The original article never states that Trump read George William Frederick Hegel's books on leadership, nor does it quote him directly claiming to be part of Hegel's trifecta of world historical individuals. Instead, the authors explicitly frame the piece as an analytical interpretation, relying on second-hand accounts from anonymous confidants. But by the time that interpretation hits the secondary echo chambers, Medium, Facebook, Substack, the nuance is completely stripped away. Sources claim becomes Trump says. By the time it hits tier 3, the fast-paced video algorithms of social media, it undergoes a massive logical leap. Extreme historical ego is instantly rebranded as fascism. This isn't just a political disagreement, this is a structural simulation of reality, and it highlights a systemic disease rotting Western journalism from the inside out. The press has stopped reporting facts and has transitioned into managing our emotions. To understand why this is happening, we have to look at the difference between what a journalist used to do and what an editorial room does now. Historically, a reporter's job was to tell you what happened. Today, because of the 24-hour click economy, a journalist's job is often to tell you how to feel about what happened. Take that jump to fascism from the Atlantic piece. Philosophically, a leader having a massive historical ego is nothing new. America's founding fathers obsessively studied Alexander and Caesar. Desiring to be a monumental figure in history is a symptom of ambition, not a specific 20th century political ideology defined by totalitarian state control. But ambition doesn't generate clicks. Fascism, on the other hand, does. If this were just happening on one side of the political aisle, we could dismiss it as standard partisan bias. But the rot is deeper than that. It affects how we process everything, from geopolitics to local tragedies. If you want to see how this works outside of Washington politics, look across the Atlantic to a tragic court case that just concluded in Southampton, England. An 18-year-old university student named Henry Nowak was walking home from a night out when he was stabbed 5 times with a 21-centimeter blade by a 23-year-old man named Vikram Degwa. During the trial, the defense argued that Degwa acted in self-defense, claiming that the teenager had racially abused him and pulled off his turban. The jury ultimately rejected the defense completely, finding Degwa guilty of murder. But look at how the media ecosystem framed the story while it was happening. When reporting on the ongoing trial, major mainstream outlets consistently led their coverage, their headlines, and their social media copy with the perpetrator's subjective, unproven narrative of provocation and fear. The public backlash was swift, and it pointed to a massive symmetry in framing. While a dying teenager was tragically handcuffed on the floor by responding officers who believed a wicked lie spun by the killer at the scene, early press reports heavily centered the psychological state and cultural grievances of the defendant. Why does an editorial room make that choice? It is called narrative filtering. In an effort to maintain social cohesion or perhaps to prevent community friction, editors consciously choose to highlight the angles that fit an established sociological script. They use passive language to flatten the reality of violence, turning a deliberate stabbing into a confrontation involving a knife. But just like the Trump example, this paternalistic approach backfires completely when the public realizes that the press is attempting to manage their reaction. Rather than reporting raw truth, institutional trust vanishes. Why is it so important to speak up against this new trend of the press managing emotions? This is because when the press trades hard verification for narrative management, the consequences aren't just internet arguments, they can alter human history. This brings us to the ultimate failure of modern journalism: the 2003 invasion of Iraq. In the lead up to the war, major elite newspapers relied on unverified hearsay from a single Iraqi defector, codenamed Curveball, and anonymous officials asserting that Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. Because a flagship paper printed it, the rest of the media ecosystem didn't independently probe the claim. They simply cited the prestigious source. Fourth-hand information was laundered into a geopolitical fact. It started a war, cost hundreds of thousands of lives, and destabilized an entire region. All because the media ecosystem accepted an official narrative without an independent probe. Whether it is laundering anonymous political gossip about a president, centering a trial headline around an unproven claim of racial provocation, or pushing an unverified intelligence dossier to spark a war, the mechanism is identical. We live in an era where information is abundant, but clarity is scarce. The media echo chamber relies on our laziness. It counts on the fact that you will only read the headline, that you will react with emotion, and that you will share the team piece to signal which side you stand on. If we want to remain in a society grounded in a shared reality, we have to become our own investigators. Next time you see a shocking headline that perfectly confirms your biases or outrages your sensibilities, ask yourself three structural questions. Where is the primary source? Is it a transcript or an anonymous confidant? What is the active agent? Is the headline describing an action that occurred, or is it managing how I feel about the person who did it? And the last question, is this a fact or a sad, pathetic game of telephone? Don't let the echo chamber do your thinking for you. Go that extra mile and think for yourself. In today's society where so much is happening and everyone is rushing to pick sides and vilifying the other side, it is very important to gain clarity over the information that we get and to find the gold in the rubble or the diamond in the rubble. Thank you for reaching the end of this video. I'm so glad. If you enjoyed this, just know that I also do video essays and talk on social political issues, not just in my country but in the world at large. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification button so that you'll never miss any video, and you could share with your friends so that we could spark a discussion about media and the long game of telephone. See you in the next video.